are in our last hour of the Knollapalooza, which is now on July 6th, I believe that would be, but who's counting? And with us to close out this 13-hour marathon as was planned is Adam Gorightly, and that should not be a name strange to anybody who's at least been listening to this show and anywhere around the internet, because Adam is like a dog manure. He's everywhere. I don't know why I wanted to say that, but anyway, we'll cut to the chase. First of all, Adam, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, what high praise. Thank you.
But you know, I think I owed you from one of the jabs you gave me, like when John Muir was on. Am I right?
I don't recall any jabs.
Yeah, I do. Okay.
Well, maybe you're overly sensitive.
But that doesn't mean I'm wrong. That's all right. No, but Adam Gorightly, who's been a friend of this show for some time, Adam, you know, honestly, in fact, let me just say this: the song you just heard is, well, you tell us, what was who are the people who are playing that particular tune?
Did we hear the whole song? I couldn't quite make it out, or you just played a portion?
Oh, no, okay, yeah, because it's a little bit hard for you to hear the intro. No, we played about 1:30, and we're going to go out with the whole 9 yards, which is about a 4-minute and 50-second song, I believe, called UFO Lane. So, you were a little bit at a disadvantage, but what is with the song, who was playing it, and what's in back of that?
Okay, that is myself and a buddy by the name of Joe Hook playing that song, and actually it's a live recording from the Retro UFO 3 event that happened in April.
Yep.
And the song was actually recorded upstairs at the world-famous Integratron, which has quite a story behind it. But the origins of that song goes way back almost, good heavens, 30 years now. I'm getting old, too.
Two? I mean, like T-O-O, like also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's behind that song was a certain psychedelic trip that myself and my friend Joe, who's also playing on that song, took back in 1979. And I'm not bragging about using hallucinogens and LSD in particular, but back during those wayward days, I tripped quite a bit, and quite a few times with Joe. And on this occasion, we were at some friend's house, the Bison Brothers. It was a local hangout, and took some acid and didn't like the vibes there, so we went out, and this is in a moderate-sized Central California town. Went out in the night and came to a levee, a ditch bank, which we later named UFO Lane.
Okay.
And started walking along, and in fact, before we even got on the ditch bank, I joked to Joe, what if we saw some UFOs right now, you know? Nobody ever believed us ourselves. We're so fucked up, and we started laughing somewhat hysterically about that. And bear in mind, this was during a period when both Joe and I and a lot of our friends were steeped in, you had Star Wars and Close Encounters, and there was a yearning among my group to experience something, you know, like an encounter, and have them be taken away in flying saucer, have you, or whatever, to a galaxy far, far beyond. So bear in mind, there was that yearning there. So we made that a comment about how we saw UFOs and no one believed us because we were so high. And not more than 10 minutes after that, we saw the first thing we saw was a beam of light coming down from the sky, perhaps 100 feet, 150 feet, I'm not even sure now. It was like a spotlight beaming down on the ground, but it didn't appear to be emanating from anything, and we remarked, wow, what was that? Kept walking along until we saw our first quote-unquote UFO. And I've written about this in places, Viz, in Beast of Adam Gorightly, and I wrote about it in Crash Collusion magazine. A lot of folks have heard me tell this story, but that night we ended up seeing, and the number escapes me now, but 6, 7, 8 various UFOs, some your classic saucer shaped, cigar shaped, some just bizarre and comical, multicolored things with propellers, and as we were seeing these things, we were talking back and forth to each other, describing, we were both seeing the same things, whether we were influencing each other, whether we hypnotized ourselves, were bringing telepathic thoughts in our minds, if we were hallucinating, it was a dual hallucination. And so this was a very, very seminal experience, had quite an impact on both of us, and I think like Chica Bruce, for instance, she might have mentioned when she was on your show about one of her early UFO experiences when she was in her early teens and how it made her question everything. And this episode did the same thing to me. Now, like I said, I do admit I, during that period, took various drugs and hallucinogens, but never, ever saw anything like what we saw that night. And I think in some odd way, well, there's no doubt about it, set me on the course where I am today. And so that is an origin about the song. And during that period, Joe and I, back in the late 70s, collaborated on a lot of music. I wrote lyrics, and he was in a pretty heavy band, and we composed a lot of music together. During that period, I wasn't performing with that band, but over the years I played keyboards, and Joe and I would get together now and then and play music together. But for the most part, it was me writing the lyrics and him performing it. And so that leads us many, many years later to the Retro UFO Conference, and I was helping pull some of the different speakers into that event. And Joe, he's gone through periods where he hasn't played music for many years, but the last couple of years he's been starting to write and record some music. And so I said, hey, you want to come perform at the Retro UFO Conference, right in the up in the Integratron, which has the most amazing acoustics in the world? And he said, shit, yeah. And the year before that, I'd actually played there myself, quote-unquote play. I have a keyboard and a theremin. I kind of did a demonstration. I didn't really perform any songs per se, kind of did, but it was more of a demonstration of the different sounds and playing the theremin. People kind of got off on it, so the organizer asked me again this year to do it. So the original plan was I was going to do like 15 minutes with the keyboards and the theremin, and we'd bring Joe on, but then we got talking and said, hey, he said to me, why don't we play together, man? We'll work on it, and you have some of your songs, I have mine, we'll get together. And so we started practicing this 2 or 3 times and put a set together, and in fact played there at the Integratron, and one of those songs was UFO Lane, which talks about our experience 30 years later. So
what are we dealing with there? Was that a keyboard and guitar?
Yeah, and that song in particular, it's Joe on guitar and vocals, and I'm playing theremin and also some special effects on a synthesizer, so synthesizer and theremin.
Yeah, it didn't sound like any percussion, not a big deal. It was the two of you guys up there, right?
Right, just the two of us.
And that was UFO Lane, and we're going to hear that in its entirety as we bring this interview and this marathon to a close. And again, we are with Adam Gorightly.
You're probably tired after 13 hours, huh?
Yeah, I probably will be. Thanks for asking. Nice call. This is a pre-record, folks, but no big deal. We're talking with Adam Gorightly, and he's been with us. I'm going to have to ask him why, but I'm really glad he's been around. Some of the books that you might associate with him is Adam Gorightly on death cults. I think probably one of the all-timers is The Prankster and the Conspiracy, the story of Kerry Thornley and how he met Oswald and inspired the counterculture. And we have the Shadow over Santa Susanna. And as Adam has referred to, he called it the Beast of Adam Gorightly. He did a little wordplay on that. It's also the Best of Adam Gorightly Collected Rantings, 1992 to 2004. The website is adamgorightly.com. And, Adam, I think about this all the time, and I guess I forget it all the time. But, the years fly by. And, I think I've been on, it's like 6 years, but it seems like 17,000. And I think, you were just on, in 2007. But, we hooked up, I guess, back in, 03 or 04. And you're a pretty regular, not frequent necessarily, but a regular visitor to the show. And even when we first came on, and, you never know what's going to go on with that. You contact somebody and okay, you're thinking, what's this guy into? And I'm thinking, what's this guy going to say? But it was never really, it was really never a hard thing to push, was it? For whatever it was, it kind of worked out, didn't it?
Yeah.
You better say yes, goddammit.
Oh, no, there's some kind of immediate rapport. It was just relax, and, that's the way you do your show, though. It's conversational, and you kind of let it go where the energy takes it.
Well,
and I appreciate that. That's what I tried to do with my show as well.
Well, I'll tell you this. People like you make me break out in hives. But, you're one of those people, and, I've said it before. I don't know if I said it in your presence or whatever, but that if I had tried to be somebody that everybody liked in my life, well, it never would have worked, and of course it didn't. So, even if I tried, it just couldn't happen. There's just something that goes on. It either happens or it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with yourself, whenever I look around, anybody ever, chimes in, or Chris Knowles comes in, or, Andy Colvin comes in, and those guys are pretty much in your corner anyway, and you're all of the same mind. But that's okay. But, nobody ever comes in and says, why'd you have that asshole Gorightly on? It never happens. And I'm pissed. But that's that kind of niche you have. I wouldn't usually say niche, but, obviously it's a Friday night, so yeah. Saturday night. It's a niche. But it's true. And, and that's okay. You can't make that happen. You can't manufacture that kind of stuff. You are a glib spirit, and you do a decent job. You don't try to duck anybody, and you don't try to step on anybody.
Yeah.
But, I've just appreciated it over all these years. I'll be damned if I know how you did it. But, after I've said all this kind of stuff, you tell me what's the formula.
Well, you ain't bad yourself, man.
Oh, no, you haven't read my email lately, bro. But go ahead. I just try to be square and honest with people and my dealings with them, and you get older, life's too short for fussing and fighting, my friend. Did you come up with that?
Yeah, in a previous life.
Okay.
I have made some enemies, but they came into it with an axe to grind.
Anyway, yeah.
I remember I never knew these folks, but a lot of these internet relationships you stumble into. Back when I was writing the Manson book, there was a few people that took exception with that book for various reasons, and waged a pretty nasty internet campaign. It was more like, trolls out there, whatever they...
Oh, yeah.
Out of, who knows, petty envy or whatever. So, yeah, there's my detractors out there. And if you go to my website, adamgorightly.com, actually, if you pull up the critics, you'll see some people there I kind of cheesed off.
Okay.
I'm not perfect.
That's good, because that makes me feel better, yeah. We're in the same universe. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
If you have if you pull up that page, you don't have to do it, but...
I got it.
You can see right there, some of the comments are joking, of course. But, for instance, Bobby Beausoleil's wife really took exception with a piece I wrote about her husband, one of the Manson family murderers.
Sure.
you've talked about him on your show with Chris Knowles and other people, so you can see a lot of that revolved around the Manson book, but, controversial subject matter.
But, here's the other thing about blogs, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because that's pretty generic. I want to get into, our history, your history.
Mm-hmm.
But, sometimes you never know who's who.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you know, she, or somebody says it? Yeah, that's what I don't like about blogs, is you never know who you're dealing with.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not really involved in blogs, or, there were news groups back in the day. Yeah, you just get these flame wars going with, like, Monkey Boy 25, or, whoever.
Yeah, right, I know.
And they played both ends against the middle and games, yeah. And so I got a pretty quick distaste for that whole world, and, I blog on my site, and I try to avoid those petty little flame wars. What's the point? It's a waste of energy.
Well, really, and the blogging thing, to me, early on, and I still believe it to be like this, to me it's like wrestling with seaweed. You never extricate yourself. You know what I mean?
Wrestling with who?
Seaweed.
Oh.
You never get out of it.
Yeah.
All right, and let's not devote any more time to it. But here's, I can't really remember where, the source of how we met or how this worked out. I think
I remember.
Was it Wing TV? And the books?
Not exactly. I think it was just me pimping my Carrie Thornley book, and
okay.
So
you were hoarding yourself, right?
Yeah, and I won't lie. And in book publishing these days, and I publish some of the books myself, and a couple I have publishers and whatever, but it's not like it was once upon a time where you actually had real book publishing companies. If you're somebody who signs a big contract or something, they're going to push your book, but for the most part, it's up to you as the writer to promote the thing. And so my practice on all of my books is basically when the book is ready to be launched, I'll send out a press release to the world, and I heard your show, and I thought it was pretty cool, and so it was one of many shows. I sent that press release out there, the book is out, a blurb about it, and I want to do interviews, so contact me here, and I believe you responded, and that's how it all started, as I recall.
All right, yeah, and but it was such a natural thing. Mm-hmm. And and like I said, whenever you go the first time with someone, both the poor guest and the host, you have no idea how it's going to work out.
Oh, I've had some bad experiences.
And anyway, what I try to do to, this is not about me, but the thing is I try to talk to people before we go on, just so we can, find out about each other. Mm-hmm. That doesn't always work out that way, especially if we're dealing with people in the UK. And I don't even know if that happened with us, but all I remember is probably getting into the station in the old days when we were up at the AM stations, DCF and CHR, and, Lord, we were always under the gun, Harry and me running from work. And it's like the old thing about Chuck Berry, he goes, no matter how much you practice with it, he comes on stage, like, the minute the curtain opens, goes, it's in G, and it goes like this. Mm-hmm. So, no matter what we do, we sit behind the seats, I punch I try to, I call the person, if they're there, it's like, oh good. You're there, and off we went, and that's the way it did go. We did have, I guess, mutual touchstones with Wing TV. Yeah, and that was a pretty cool thing, too. But, with us, it was, and now, forget, the past. We've been through this low, like, let's say, probably 4 or 5 years, and all of a sudden, Adam, and you're aware of this, I do this stuff with Andy Colden, I do this stuff with Chris Knowles, and now Dave McGowan's come in with this Laurel Canyon stuff, and even though, you don't try to do a thematic show, not that it's necessary, but all of a sudden, after all these years, here you are doing stuff, McGowan's doing stuff, Knowles is doing stuff, Colvin's doing stuff, and it's all kind of like resonating, and, you just let it go. I mean, it's a pretty natural thing, and I think it's pretty cool. And it also, despite the fact that it's, quote, fascinating, and I think it is, it also says something, where people can decide for themselves whether it's very Saturnine or whatever about the way things were these last couple of decades. And as you well remember, when we were talking with John Muir about the horror shows and stuff like that, I mean, here we are through all this time, and I don't know, I mean, you yourself have seen this thing played out time and time again, and I've threatened to send you information about what was going down before those murders of Tate and such, with Esalen and such. And so something's working to this, I don't know, I've spent a lot of time saying this, but there's some kind of like general nexus. And I know that Chris was saying, it's like, sometimes this freaks me out about the synchronicities. And so I'll throw that to you. I mean, you're aware, I think, of what's going out there. You know what you've done. You're working on something else also. What do you chalk it up to? I mean, is it just coincidence, or is it the fact that a lot of sentient beings are working on the same kind of thing about the same era and coming up with not so different conclusions?
I don't think it's mere coincidence. I'm not sure what exactly to attribute it to, but it might be some group mind think coming together, and we're all filling in different pieces of the puzzle. There's that group out there now, they call themselves Synchro-Mystic.
Okay,
Are you familiar with that at all?
No.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I'm not sure exactly all they're into, but yeah, it is kind of a sort of group mind, I guess, for want of better term, stumbling on these things and connecting the dots, and their work starts overlapping. And I think that's what's going on with myself and Andy and McGowan. I've listened to some of his recent interviews with you, and blowing my mind. And who else you mentioned?
Well, there was
Chris Knowles.
Yep, Chris Knowles, yeah.
And I've had these things happen before over the years, actually. You posted one time that Disneyland Dead article.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I remember at the same time I was writing that, I discovered somebody else was writing a piece about, the same thing, the deaths at Disneyland, and that was the John Mars who used to write Murder Can Be Fun magazine, a fanzine. But then that happened another time when around that same period, I was working on a piece about how JFK might have experimented with LSD, and it was given to him by Mary Pinchot Meyer, who was a lover of his that was brutally murdered. And there were some other folks that so happened that seemed to stumble upon that material at the same time, so it was like there was another case of this that was working on these pieces, on these kind of arcane subject matter that other people seem to discover at the same time. So I don't know what to attribute that to exactly, but maybe there is some type of, I don't know, synchronicity or energy or whatever going on out there that people seem to tap into and pick up at the same time. Maybe it's on some type of telepathic level as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think I'm fortunate in the sense that if I had to take, 3 or 4 folks, whom, and I think this would probably be a really great show, to use as I said, touchstones about all that went on, whatever that happened back when. And that would be Colvin and Knowles and yourself and McGowan. Mm-hmm. And that would probably be nice if there's any way we could have a little roundtable about that. And that's been suggested, I guess, in certain forms. Not necessarily include all 4 of you, but boy, I tell you what, that would probably include all the basic food groups I'd be happy with.
Yeah, you could try something if you want to go in this direction. have a series of 3 or 4. It would take at least, well, you know how we could go on forever.
Sure.
On maybe the first episode, have 2 of us. On the next episode, another 2, and keep mixing it so there's different players. So.
Oh, with every show. Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, I think we have to do that, and I think I'm going to do that. Also, I want to thank you too. A couple of weeks ago for coming on with the first of the shows that we have, believed and kind of agreed to collaborate on, called The Untamed Grassy Knoll. And that's with John Kenneth Muir. And I know you were at a disadvantage, and I told John, I mean, it's no big deal. I mean, you were remote, you're doing business. You were away from a lot of your materials. But still in all, the show is kind of fun because what we were talking about is kind of like resonant to every child, that grew up anywhere from the 60s or 50s, whatever. I mean, come on. It's, it's like who doesn't like a hot dog? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, no, hey, thanks first of all of doing the show. Yeah, I hope we keep doing it for a spell. I was burned out on the other show and really didn't have the energy to devote to it. I want to spend more time writing and doing other things. So, yeah, and, I thought it went well. I said I kind of bitched about having to do it remotely because I was in a hotel room with a phone where I couldn't hear everything too well and had it pressed to my ear, and it's like, sitting there struggling to make out every word everybody's saying. So, hopefully most of the time I'll be on my own turf. But overall, I thought it went well, and I like those shows where it's spontaneous, and there are some screw-ups along the way. I think it makes it more interesting.
Well, I'm the king of screw-ups, so anything, if you want to screw up, you come to me. But, I mean, despite all that, though, the conversation was good, and John was happy, and the callers were good. I mean, and I'll tell you what, like I said, you know what I do, the gravity of it is sometimes, if not all the time, very sobering, and this got us a chance. And some, you get, I got emails that said, look, thank you for not doing something about the NWO. We sometimes want a little break. And that did it. Other people get upset because it's like, well, why didn't you pound the paper? No, okay, we're not going to do that. But that was key. And when I ran
you commented one time when we did the last, I guess you could call it the last Untamed Dimension show, which we did the live 2-hour thing, bagging on Blog Talk Radio. We had a lot of fun doing that, actually, and I think you commented it was like the Tonight Show, and I think you were referring to the old school Tonight Show.
Yeah.
Back in the day with, they'd have 6 or 7 guests out there. Half of them are half drunk and a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I like what I do, and I'm dedicated to that. But there is a time, and and even when I came back after a 2-month hiatus, I wanted to make something else. And if people get upset about that, I tell you what, people get upset about anything. So whatever you do, 50% will like it, 50% won't. So it doesn't make a difference what you do. You're half screwed and you're half okay. So it's all right. But let me ask you this, because I mean, I have no history about you before. I guess whatever you sent out to me, you did. And, and it is my wont to ask folks, too, how in the world you ever got inside this. And we asked that, in fact, when you were on, and we asked that of John Muir, about how he got into writing about, he's not a horror writer, but he's a writer of the horror, the cinematic and TV horror genre. But with you, what made you ever take your first step down a rabbit hole?
Okay.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
No.
Are you trying to suffocate yourself with a pillow?
Actually, I was opening a beer.
Oh. Boy, that was horrible. That was the worst opening of a beer I ever heard of.
Oh, then I had the receiver cradled on my neck. So.
Well, the thing is, buy something foreign so you don't have to twist it and don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Pop it off with, your teeth or something. All right, got it.
Well, I kind of started down that path at the beginning of the show talking about that psychedelic experience that had quite an impact. So that was like 1978, 79 when that happened. And then had some weird experiences. once again, that UFO experience really made me question everything. I'm still not sure about that particular incident, what happened. I've entertained so many things. Initially, I thought, yeah, it was aliens that contacted me. Then at other times I suspected that, yeah, it might have been some type of telepathic thing between us, or we hypnotized each other, or maybe even some type of MK Ultra mind control thing going on. So all of those weird thoughts that evolved over the year kind of influenced a lot of my writing. Now, it was in the early 80s, when I was in my early 20s, I was going to a small community college in Central California, and I saw a poster on posted one day at the college campus that said, either did the CIA kill JFK or the CIA killed JFK, one of the two, and I go, what the hell? I never heard of that. That sounds pretty wild. And so I started talking to people, and different people mentioned these JFK assassination books. So I started reading them, and talk about questioning everything. The Kennedy assassination is really the model for, the great conspiracy that we talked before about peeling back the layers of the onion. The deeper you go, there's more layers there. So, I started reading books about the Kennedy assassination, and really, it motivated me somewhat politically, at least for a while. I was outraged. It was so obvious that they, whoever they are, killed our president in cold blood, just like a dog out in the street. And so, I got heavy into the JFK assassination, read every book, and the deeper I got into it, the more confused I became. And I think that kind of helped me in the work of Robert Anton Wilson of being an agnostic of sorts. Agnostic is the wrong word, but I love I kind of come from the approach, and because I've never convinced myself on any one thing in particular revolving around all these conspiracies, but I'm open to these things, and I'm continually searching. And talking about Robert Anton Wilson, his approach was, once you have come to the point where you believe in something, quote unquote believe, and you've decided that's the grand conspiracy and that's exactly how it happened, then you basically become a believer, like a fundamentalist religion of some sort, where you've closed your mind to other possibilities. And so, my approach is like that. I suspect certain things, certain people might have been behind the Kennedy assassinations or other conspiracies, but I'm not totally convinced of any one thing. And whether you're looking into conspiracies or UFO or whatever, I think you continually got to keep an open mind and take in other data and be constantly challenging your own theories and the theories of others. That's the path I'm on. Does that make sense?
No, but no, it does. But it makes sense to me what differences it make, you know what I mean? But also, again, we're talking with Adam Gorightly. The website is adamgorightly.com. Some of his titles are, well, of course, The Best of Adam Gorightly, and there's The Shadow over Santa Susanna, and then we have The Prankster and the Conspiracy, and Adam Gorightly on Dove Cults. And that particular topic has been coming up more and more. With us on this show. And, of course, it always seems to come up. I don't know what happened recently. Who's up for parole, blah, 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 whether it's Atkins or whatever. But that thing will never go away. And I don't know if it should or shouldn't, but the fact that it doesn't, it will, it's left its brand on America. Because, Adam, I'll tell you what, everybody complains about things today, and, okay, they're bad. But I'll tell you what, I mean, I would say in the time frame from 66 to 72, probably 71, I mean, some of the stuff that I just, passed through, as a 16 to a 20-year-old, I mean, if it happened today, I'd be like, what in the world is going on here? Mm-hmm. But this goes back to what you wrote about, and again, I mean, I heard you go, you made some kind of affirmative guttural response to talking about this stuff coming up today. So, I mean, what about it? I mean, Colvin and I talk about this all the time with Manson, and you've done that work on that. That just never, ever goes away.
Yeah. Well, with the Manson thing, of course, Colvin has brought out Manson's early years in West Virginia, and one of the odd little factoids there that he, according to some people, knew and grew up with Sarah Jane Moore, who was later an attempted assassination of good old bumbling Jerry Ford. And
they just should have left him alone on the golf course. He would have killed himself.
With his heart. And but then
drove his wife to drink.
We had another Mansonoid who attempted to assassinate Jerry Ford as well. It was Squeaky Fromm. So you get into researching Manson, and these things start coming up. Mae Brussel, are you familiar with that name?
Sure.
I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. The late Mae Brussel, yep.
Yeah, she was one of the first researchers who brought up these theories, quote-unquote theories, conspiracy theories surrounding the Manson family, that they were some type of military mind control experiment. And when we look at the work of Dave McGowan, he seems to be heading in some direction along those lines. Now, Brussel, when she was looking into it, I got to work some brain cells here because it's been a while since I worked on that Manson book, but she met a deputy sheriff, LAPD, back then. This is right after the Manson murders. His name was Preston Guillory. And Guillory claimed that basically LAPD knew Manson was involved in all these stuff like statutory rape, and he had this wild bunch out at Spawn Ranch who had an arsenal of weapons and all this stuff, and he claims the LAPD really had directions not to mess with those folks, to leave them alone. And, Guillory contended that Manson was an agent provocateur. Now, this was during the period of COINTELPRO, the FBI's program, and, during that same time they were, the FBI, CIA, whoever were infiltrating not only hippie cults like the Manson family, but also the Black Panthers, and most likely brought the Black Panthers down. I don't think there's much a doubt about that. Most of them were either murdered or became junkies or whatever.
Compromised, yeah.
Over a short period of time.
Right.
And Manson has alluded that he's been manipulated over the years in his unique way of doing so. It's always in veiled terminology, but and one interesting thing I was remembering is the initial Manson family murders was the Beausoleil murder, and at that time is when they started scrawling, in blood on the walls, the whole political piggy thing, which they used at the other murder scenes. And when they asked Susan Atkins, apparently was the one who, as memory tells me, like I said, I can't say that for sure. It was one of the girls who, took the blood and
scrawled it.
Yeah, because they were trying to frame the Black Panthers. And so, that brings up the thought that, they were being manipulated to do this. And there was a lot of conjecture during that period in the press, some sectors of the press, I know the John Birch Society wrote about it, that it was the Black Panthers that were behind the Manson family murders. You know, this is before they picked up Manson and his bunch. And, of course, you look at a lot of interviews and stuff with Manson, he was pretty hardcore racist. He talked it's almost like his plans were to go off into the desert and let the shit come down, and in fact he said then Blackie would take over and the blacks wouldn't know what to do, so he'd come out of hiding in the desert and, as he phrased it, he'd pat Blackie on the head, no disrespect to black folk, but and would take everything over. So there's this whole element of manipulation, either of the Mansonoids or the Mansons being used to bring about all this social unrest, and perhaps framing the Black Panthers or whoever for the Tate LaBianca murders, and, you know, this whole theme that Manson was some type of agent provocateur. And there's a lot more threads. I'm just going into one piece of this. When you start looking into the Manson family, you know, a lot of these things start rising up.
I would just submit this, and I want to get into something else as far as how you got involved in all this. And as I look back, you know, things are strange, you know, in the 60s and such. I mean, you know, all these assassinations. It's like, how do we ever make sense of this? You know, I can remember being in a study hall when we heard that RFK got popped. And we're like, okay, JFK and, you know, RFK and MLK and...
RFK comes up in the Manson family thing, too.
And we're like, okay, so, like, this is American, this is normal. I mean, but, you know, you go on. But still in all...
you were in denial, my friend.
Yeah, you are. You're in, actually, what I would call it, if I can remember clearly, and I can, I would call it an absolute, what do you say, beyond denial, like... it didn't happen. I mean, even beyond denial. Like, I mean, it's like I compartmentalized it off. Like, okay, now I have to go out and play baseball today.
Well, that's part of mind control. If you look into mind control literature, maybe it was being done on a mass scale. That one of the first things you do is try to really. Shock somebody to the point, you know, whether it's through some type of, like what they did to Patty Hearst, locking her in a closet or whatever, raping somebody, or you break somebody down, then you build them back up to whatever you're trying to create. Maybe they're trying to do that, you know, to a whole generation with all those murders and all that social unrest going down in the 60s. You ever thought that might have been the case?
Well, I tell you what, yeah, no doubt about it. What bothers me is that they held Cronkite now as like some kind of great news guy, and he was a really big mind op guy. And I won't go into it now. We don't have enough time to do it.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that before, but...
About how you didn't want to show the bloody scenes of Vietnam because people were watching it during dinner time. Hello, Walter. You're a newsman. Okay, so anyway, screw Walter. But the thing is that this was shocking me. I mean, my dad, you know, when I was 11 years old, I watched Ruby. We watched the murder on TV. And my father and I looked at each other, and my father was flipping through the channels and going, that probably was a real thing. And we went back and forth, and we're looking at each other going,
You actually saw it, huh?
Yeah. My pop was like flipping through. I mean, I'm sorry, what was it? Was it Friday? Saturday. It was a Saturday. We're looking for a football game. Pop goes flipping through the channels, and all of a sudden, here comes Lee Harvey Oswald on all three networks, ABC, CBS, you know, NBC. And so we're like, okay, we're stuck with this, and here comes Jack Ruby, bang, and we're going, okay, this is live TV. My father turns around at me. I can remember he was like, you know, kind of like half, you know, laying down, half up on an elbow, looking back at me and going, you got me, Pop, you know? I think we just saw a murder.
Yeah.
I mean, and then that only started it, and then it was, you know, obviously, JFK just happened, that happened, we went to MLK and stuff in RFK. And I mean, it's like we walked in the house, and yeah, you know, there might have been some kind of just complete detachment about The world has gone absolutely bonkers, and I still have to go to work to the plant tomorrow. Mom has to go to the bank, and you still have to go to Fairleigh Dickinson and go to school tomorrow. And that's the only way we get through things. Do you know what I mean?
You know what's weird about that, too, is that was really one of the first instances of live video television.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It didn't start much before that, as I recall.
Nope. No, I mean, look at it. In '63, we saw it live, and of course, this is not a big thing, but all right, this is a short story, and I want to get back into what we got in the 14 minutes we have left.
Mm-hmm.
I was aware of delayed tape, okay?
What?
Delayed videotape. In other words, the Giants would play the Minnesota Vikings in football, like at 1 p.m., but they would show it on delayed telecast, like in New York, like at 7 p.m., all right? My father was...
I'm not old enough to remember that.
Oh, stop with that.
I've read about that.
Well, here's what happened. I nailed the old man with this. I knew the score ahead of time. It was a tie, but we dealt with the point spread. Anyway, no matter. And I said, hey, Pop, you know what? I tell you what, the Vikings are going to take the Giants. No way. You know, the Vikings are only 2 years ago. Anyway, come on, Pop. We put up a couple of bucks. And, of course, I won. And then later on, I couldn't take it. I couldn't take the guilt. I said, Pop, I got to tell you, the game was on videotape delay. What? So,
I got a story along those lines.
Okay, good.
This is funny. My wife, when we were shacking up back many years ago,
okay,
she was off going to school, so I'm kicking back in the apartment, and Jeopardy comes on. You know, with Alex Trebek.
Oh, yeah.
And I sit there, and we used to get into it back then, so I was sitting there being a couch potato, and I watched that episode of Jeopardy.
And they replayed it.
Yeah, they replayed the stuff.
You beast.
My wife didn't know, so I'm sitting there. She's just blown away. I go through the whole program, you know, answering all these obscure questions.
How did you know that?
I finally admitted to her at the end. She about killed me.
Oh, well, that's
you had to be there. But...
No. I mean, that's all about honesty in a relationship. Even when I duped my father for $2, I had to tell him the truth.
Yeah.
You know, and he couldn't whale me because, like, what are you gonna do? I told you the truth. You know? And that is the new age. But that's what we saw. There's no two ways about it, and it continued on, and it even went on further than that. I mean, with Wallace's attempted assassination down in Laurel, Maryland, and then, you know, with Jerry Ford getting popped at twice. I mean, you know, and we're sitting here in the United States going, and okay, so let me get this straight. This is civilized? All right, I'm all right with that.
Oh, yeah. It's democracy.
But let me ask you this also, because that's pretty pedestrian and terrestrial stuff. But, you know, you also have been involved heavily with the whole UFO thing, and although I am not a disbeliever, how did that all factor in to what you're doing to this very day?
Oh, it's all related. I'm just interested in all this crazy stuff, and, you know, looking into it, paranormal and UFOs and conspiracy, and it's all related. We're trying to
wade through it all.
What's going on behind this phenomenon, and, you know, how much a part of it possibly we are.
And have you come up with any conclusions?
Sort of.
Okay.
I kind of addressed this the other night.
What, with John?
Yeah, I think part of the phenomenon, there might be a few answers out there. I mean, I think there's some, you know, as far as the UFO thing goes, there's secret craft they're testing, and that attributes to some of the sightings. Some of it is just some type of weird, you know, electromagnetic phenomena. And then part of it could be some type of mind control experiments, a cover for MK Ultra perhaps. And then the thing I'm leaning towards the most is that it's a phenomena that goes back to the beginning of man. And, you know, I think there's different energy that could perhaps pop in and out of dimensions, or that perhaps is always around us, but we don't always see. It's like the writer John Keel explained that there's a electromagnetic frequency, and it's like looking through infrared. Sometimes we can peek through these doorways. A lot of people call them UFO hotspots or paranormal hotspots, where there's strange activity going on. You know, Andy Colvin's talked about this type of stuff, and bringing up my psychedelic experience back in the 70s, I think it's quite possible that being in that state, we were able to tune into another wave or frequency, much like a psychic or channeler. These things appear, or you can see them. Now, how they appear to us has a lot to do with the human condition and what we're expecting to see. If you're deeply religious, it could be Jesus, could be the Virgin Mary, it could be angels. And going back, to the Celtic traditions, perhaps elves and fairies, I think we see these things, whatever they are, this energy with this cultural bias, we see them through this lens or filter that has to do with our culture today. I think that is perhaps one part of the phenomena, and it addresses not only UFOs, but these things like Mothman and on and on. And, they've been called shapeshifters, or the Tibetans call them tulpas.
What I've got in mind to ask you questions.
What do you think about that theory?
I'll tell you what, this is going to be painful, but I'm going to put in abeyance my response. And the reason I'm doing this is because, one, I want people to come back and listen to other shows. but honestly, I just wrote some notes here. We could not do this in the time we have left. And I know that sounds
totally poo-poo it though.
No. Okay. No, and that's the reason why.
And I'd respect if you'd said that.
But no, I'm going to tell you no. And I've made mention of this other times, so what I would like to do is revisit this without a doubt. No, I'm not poo-pooing it, and I'm not, being salacious about, come back and listen, and bait the audience. No, there's stuff out there, and...
I must admit, in a lot of these experiences, there's a dark element to it, or a trickster element, like we're being toyed with.
Yep. No, I'm not yesing you, but I'm thinking in my mind, the people I would like to marshal to be able to speak to this. But no, Adam, something's going on. I can't figure it out. I don't spend a lot of time in that sector, and yet I'm going to tell you. It's what I found when I first started this, and that things do go bump in the night.
Yeah.
All right, listen, Adam Gorightly, his website is adamgorightly.com.
We done already?
Oh, yeah, the time has flown by, and we are bound by the clock, because we are now at the end of the Knollapalooza. You were the anchor man in this whole thing.
I know you need to get some sleep.
I always need to get some sleep, and this would be no different. But you're going to be back on, no doubt about it, in July or whatever, and I think I would like to arrange...
Well, we got an Untamed Grassy Knoll to do, right?
Well, that'll be at the end of the month, but even before then I would like to arrange, if we could do that, a little four-way with you, Colvin, Knowles, and I'm always missing one person in this. Who's the other person I'm missing out here?
McGowan?
If we can get McGowan on. If not, I'll take his place.
Well, you'll have fun trying to herd all those cats around.
Let me work at it. Again, folks, this is Adam Gorightly. He has brought us to the end of our Knollapalooza on this now, July 6th, Sunday morning. We thank you all for being with us, and we're going to leave the show with the music that both Adam and that was Jack Hook, right?
Joe Hook, and
Joe Hook, excuse me.
Say that the name of our band, and we're going to continue playing and probably produce an album here in the near future. The name of the band is Good News for Modern Man.
All right. We're going to hit it, and you and I will be in touch.
Yes, sir.
Adios.